Hi everyone, and welcome to our talk today on using data to effectively grow your business through digital marketing. My name is Jenny Lamb, and I'm an agency development manager here at Google, working with our premier partner agencies like Madfish. One of the things that we're consistently hearing from businesses today is that the digital landscape is so complex. How can we navigate it, and how can we use all of this data and information to effectively manage our advertising campaigns and boost them to success? So I'm thrilled to have with me in the room the team from Madfish Digital, who are real thought leaders in the space when it comes to data analysis. So Ben, Brian, Lauren, thank you all so much for joining me today. Before we get started, I'd love to hear a little bit more about what you do at Madfish Digital and all of your unique roles. So Ben, I'll start with you.
Great, thank you. So my name is Ben Herman. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Madfish Digital. We've been in business since about 2006 and worked with Google the whole time. Our mission is to provide our clients with pieces to the digital puzzle, and we're excited to be here. So thanks for having us.
Great. Lauren?
My name is Lauren Downey. I'm a PPC specialist at Madfish, and I oversee a portion of our AdWords, Bing, Facebook, LinkedIn, and all of our social accounts.
Great. Brian?
And my name is Brian Penner. I'm also a paid media campaign manager. And alongside that, I also take care of all of our analytics setup and technical implementations.
Great. So thank you all so much for coming in today. Before we get started talking about data and optimization and really get into the weeds, I thought it was important that we start with kind of clarifying for all of the clients that might be watching, why do we do digital marketing? What is the point of spending money on Google and other digital platforms? So Lauren, why don't we start with you on answering that question? What is the point of digital marketing?
So there are lots of benefits to marketing online. First and foremost is increased sales or leads or phone calls. Additionally, you can reach customers or potential customers at every stage of the funnel. So brand awareness, consideration, and transactions. And finally, another benefit of advertising is differentiating your brand from competitors. So your unique message, your features, your voice, you can really promote yourself when you're advertising online.
Absolutely. I mean, we talk about the first step is showing up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so being able to be present and for people to be able to find you when mm-hmm. it comes to them looking for your services or even for your individual brand. Mm-hmm. Great. So because people want to grow their business, there's obviously a bunch of different metrics and data that a CMO can look at in order to see if they're accomplishing those business goals of driving themselves forward and increasing sales. So mm-hmm. Ben, my question to you is, how does a CMO decide which metrics matter most to them and which are most important?
Sure. So it's different business to business, mm-hmm. industry to industry. And one of the things we pride ourselves on is our robust onboarding.
Right.
And we've got a lot of processes in place to help extract the information that we need to help businesses decide on the best KPIs for their business. And so that's everything from establishing what the best cost per lead or cost per acquisition needs to be, as well as how many dollars our clients need to get as a return for every dollar spent on AdWords.
Right. So it sounds like it's a lot of question asking mm-hmm. and transparency.
Correct.
So being able to best understand your client is absolutely critical, and for on the client side, being fully honest and open
yes.
with communication. Great. So I think, Brian, my next piece there is, obviously we now have talked about a lot of different metrics when it comes to tracking your business goals. So you've got things from conversions to target CPA to return on ad spend, all these fun acronyms that we like to throw around. But how do we track them? So Ben just mentioned a very robust onboarding process. So my question for you is, what does a client need to do in order to assure that they are tracking everything properly?
Right. As part of our onboarding process, we want to make sure that we're getting information not just from online sources, but we also like to incorporate offline data to make sure that we're not just paying attention to the digital sphere, but how a company or a business is engaging with their customers online and offline. So when it comes to online interactions, we're setting up event tracking, we're making sure we have the proper conversion tags in place. And we do this through a platform called Google Tag Manager, which is an absolute must-have when it comes to easily implementing the necessary event tracking and tools to be able to better understand how customers are interacting with a web platform. It's important to remember that Google Analytics is a model for understanding website interactions. And so through Google Tag Manager, we're able to form that model around the website in order to get all the information that we need.
Got it.
As far as offline tracking goes, we make sure that we set up clients with call tracking. And this brings so much value to the table in that we're able to understand and gain insights from these conversations and directly link booked interviews or the likes with the ad campaigns that we're running.
Right. I think you bring up a great point, right? There's only so much that we can glean from that online behavior. And it's really important that we track all of that and have all of those metrics at our disposal. A lot of stuff happens after that click and after that phone call starts. So I love that you all at Madfish have this resource and technology that allows you to track those calls. When it comes to tracking those calls, Lauren, I'd love to hear a little bit more from you on kind of the insights that you're able to glean from them, how it's not just about, okay, if someone called and they interacted with you for this long, but what else do you look at when we are thinking about tracking and client success?
We gain a lot of information from listening to calls. Not only do we learn about the customers, but we learn about the language that they're using. And we use that language in our ad copy. So when we're writing AdWords ads, we want to make sure that we're using the same language that the users are using when they're speaking about this product or this service.
Right.
For example, we had in our ad copy, get a quote. And that was driving conversions. But when we listened to the calls, we realized that people were asking for estimates and not quotes. And so we did some A/B testing and we used ads with get a quote and get an estimate, and we learned which actually resonated better with that audience. And so this was really good insight for us, and from this offline information, we were able to use that and bring it into AdWords.
Absolutely. That's great. I think that there is so much to be learned from that. And that's just from listening to a few calls. So being able to also understand, okay, these are the types of calls that lead to more sales or to a better lifetime value for a client is super useful information that we need to have at our disposal. Great. So kind of now that we've got in place, okay, we know our customers' goals and objectives to move their business forward and grow it. We're tracking all of the right things offline and online, and we've got that set up kind of at the beginning stages of our relationship with these clients. My next question for you, Lauren, is how do you as an agency, how do you as Madfish Digital use all of this account data and look at it in order to make optimizations to help your clients reach their business goals?
Well, there's tons of data and lots of metrics we can look at in Google Analytics and Google AdWords, but we really need to start off at understanding the client objective, the client's goal. Why are they using marketing? Why are they coming to us? And then once we understand their goal, then we can look at metrics and what metrics align with that goal. So for example, if we have a client who wants to double their transactions, we would look at the number of transactions per month, as well as the cost per transaction and the return on ad spend. And that would be at the bottom of the funnel. If we have a client who is, their goal is to reach more, to increase brand awareness and to reach more customers, metrics we would look at would include impressions, how many times an ad was shown, as well as clicks and click-through rates. So there's lots of metrics, but it depends on really what the goal is of the client.
Yeah, so it sounds like you've got to pull whatever lever relates to that end business objective. So for impressions, it might be clicks. For conversions, it might be conversion rate and cost per acquisition. Okay, awesome. So lots of obviously good information there. When it comes to, optimizing, something that we've been throwing out a lot recently, or that I've heard you say now a few times, is testing. So very important to be testing. And I'd love to get your thoughts on, okay, how do you approach testing at Madfish Digital, and how do you also present it to your clients?
Testing is very important to advertising, and we test as many elements as we can at Madfish. So, for example, in the PPC department, we test ad copy, calls to action, landing pages, and keywords. Those are our top primary A/B tests that we do. And this gives us a lot of information about what messages are working and what messages are not working, or what landing pages are driving more sales and which are not driving sales or phone calls. One Google product that we use with clients and that we're very passionate about is called Google Optimize. And what Google Optimize allows us to do is A/B test landing pages, and we can make little changes to a landing page, and we see which landing page works better. So, for example, we have a client who uses Google Optimize, and we had one of their product pages, we duplicated it, and we changed their add to cart button. We made it red, and we also enlarged it. Okay. So it was more prominent on the page, and we hoped it would draw visitors to click add to cart, and ultimately drive more transactions. Yeah. And so this has been running for a month. We're A/B testing this new page with the original page, untouched, and we've already seen the double number of transactions.
Wow.
So it proves to be really valuable, and we get lots of information from this.
That's great.
So when we tell clients, they're very happy about this.
Could imagine, yeah.
Yeah. And then we give recommendations and suggestions. Well, maybe we should try this on another page and make sure that this is not just a unique instance, but this will also work on other product pages.
Right.
So we have a discussion with a client and do other tests as well. Maybe the headline. Maybe we can test the call to action or headline or an image. There's lots of elements on the landing page we can test, which give us valuable information and can drive sales.
Yeah. Gosh, it sounds like, like you were saying, there's so many things that you can test, and it's nice to have in place a formalized structure by which you test, and then also have kind of a series and strategy around what to start testing first, and where to invest time in testing, and having a team of experts like yourselves working on those. That though brings me to a question around kind of timing, because you said, okay, we've been running this A/B test for a month or so. So Brian, my question for you is around how much time we should allow for in order to collect enough data to optimize. Is it 1 month? Is it 2 weeks? What do you think?
I would love to have a very direct and succinct answer for you there, but truth be told, there's just not one time frame or number that you need things to hit in order for you to know that it's valid.
Right.
It ultimately depends on a case-by-case basis on many different variables, including how much spend you're able to push through on a daily basis.
Right.
We really try and wait till we have a sizable amount of data to look at and make sure that the numbers that we're making all those decisions around aren't small, isolated instances, but it actually paints a accurate picture of what that campaign or that ad group or what that what the purpose is to be achieved.
Great. I mean, and that's something too, I think, that makes people a little bit uneasy, that there's, I didn't turn on my campaign and get one conversion that day. It takes some time, and we've got to figure out, okay, what tests are worth running. In the spirit of that, how do you think about also sales cycle? Because I know that can play a factor in how long you allow a test to run.
Right. I think one of the most misunderstood aspects of an AdWords campaign is paying attention not just to one click and hoping to get immediate conversion from that, but knowing that many of these high value items need multiple different visits before the customer feels comfortable enough to purchase from that vendor.
Right.
And so it's absolutely critical that you're not paying attention to just, is it converting immediately, but looking at your attribution modeling and seeing where do these keywords or campaigns play? What part of the stage does it play a role in?
Absolutely.
So it could be because you could be pausing campaigns,
Right.
not realizing that they are critical to providing you customers farther down the line.
Conversion.
Yeah.
That's and I've seen customers make the mistake. It's pause everything except for my brand campaigns because my brand campaigns are converting. So whenever anyone searches for my specific brand, they make a purchase. It's like, well, yes, but do you know what's leading for them to search your brand?
Right.
And it probably was 4 clicks back.
Right.
So that sales cycle and that process, I think you're right, is super critical, important. And one thing that we talk about here a lot is one of my favorite statistics that 96% of people that visit a website abandon the site without actually doing that desired action of the website owner. So there's a lot of people that are going to be bouncing off, and that's why you've got to make sure that you've got the full understanding of that buying cycle. Great. So I think, taking this a step further, my next question for you, Brian, is are there other pieces of data or information that you're looking at when we're talking about optimizing campaigns? So I know we've talked a lot about, okay, what are we looking at in the account? What is the click-through rate? How many impressions? What are the conversion rates? All of that stuff is good and well, but is there anything else that you're also bringing to the table when we're thinking about optimizing?
Yeah, as I alluded to earlier, we really make an effort to incorporate as much customer insight as we possibly can into our campaigns. It's just not the case that every single conversion is going to lead to a sale. And so I think it's important not only to focus on getting those conversions, but qualifying those conversions.
Right.
And making sure that that phone call did lead to a sale and that visit or that lead resulted in the booking that you were hoping to get out of it. And so that's one of the most important ways to do that. And you can do it multiple different ways. That's why our call tracking is so important.
Right.
That's why you want to note which leads you get from your paid campaigns compared to your organic, so that you understand how each small segment of your digital presence is interacting together.
Right. Yeah, that offline information, super critical.
Yeah.
Ben, turning it over to you. I mean, okay, so we've got all of this great information that we're getting from the client, and we've got, all of the account metrics. Are there any other places that you're pulling from as far as like third-party tools go or anything like that you see as being important?
Yeah, there are. So we use a lot of social data and analytics to help us understand a client's target audience. And then we also use IBM Watson to establish both personality insights into a target audience and specific social profiles, as well as the natural language discovery, which helps us to understand how a landing page will perform with regards to quality score in AdWords. But probably the biggest component to what we bring to the table is help from your team on the proprietary information we can get in terms of benchmarking our clients against industry, the industries that they're in. So understanding how the cost per click that we're achieving for a client or cost per acquisition we're achieving for a client stacks up against competitors in the industry.
Right.
But also, just your team in general has been invaluable in terms of getting us data and information that helps us deliver on our success for clients.
Yeah, and I think there's, a lot of things that you can glean from those vertical trends and those audience insights, be it from social or from Google Trends that showcases, okay, like this spike in traffic might not be because of, us investing a whole lot more. We might just see something that happens seasonally or what have you.
Right, absolutely.
So lots of good information that we can get from those. So I think then, Ben, my next question for you is we've talked a lot about all of these great data insights tools, how we approach metrics that matter and how we optimize and track based off of client goals. I'd love to get your thoughts on what you think some of the common pitfalls are that you see when your clients get paralyzed by all of this data.
Sure.
And what they probably should avoid.
Yeah, so we tend to see a lot of issues around conversion tracking with clients, and a lot of new accounts that we audit. Whenever we take on a new account, we always go through an extensive audit process of understanding the settings, why settings were made, what's in place, and the first thing we look at is conversion tracking.
Right.
And oftentimes conversions are set up to track correctly, but there's multiple conversions and they're all appearing in like the campaign data. And
Right.
so we make sure that only the necessary conversions are showing up in the campaign data for AdWords. That way we can properly attribute cost per acquisition, basically make sure that we boil it all back to the true value that somebody's getting from AdWords. The other area we tend to see is Google Analytics not matching up with the data, the conversion data from AdWords. So we'll see more or less transactions. It could be off by 10 or 15 or even 50 transactions in Google Analytics as opposed to the conversions reported in Google AdWords. And in those cases, we work with clients to set up segments, and there's a lot of different approaches, but essentially we work to normalize the data for our clients because the two different platforms track differently. The way Google Analytics tracks a site visit is completely different than the way that the conversion tag works for AdWords. And so we tend to see discrepancies with the data, but it's one of the things we bring to the table that we can help alleviate and normalize the data that a client's receiving.
And it's super important to do that early on because I think that's where I see customers get most frustrated is after having run campaigns for a while and then going in and seeing that your data is misaligned is deeply frustrating and can cause you then to go down a full rabbit hole of I just need to shut everything off and I don't know what's working, or maybe there's an inflation in what is working. So Brian, the next question that I have for you is what can a customer ask their agency in order to ensure that they are optimizing their campaigns based off of the right data?
Before it even comes to having to ask questions to qualify that, it's absolutely pertinent that you have access to your AdWords account. That just verifies that what an agency says they're doing, they're actually doing, because you're able to see the information in the report matches up with the information in the platform. But second to that, it's circling back to this idea of conversions. And we've talked about it a couple times already, but it's an industry term that really just means it's an objective that we're working towards.
Right.
But it's a very nebulous term.
Right.
And so I think it's very important for all clients to understand what their conversions mean.
Right.
Are they calls? Are they views of a landing page? Are they form submissions? Are they transactions? So if you're not able to immediately write down what that conversion number means, you should probably talk with your agency and ask them to define what does this number mean.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you can also just be consistently told, oh, we've been optimizing for conversions. We're getting you more conversions and you're not seeing your bottom line change at all. That's a problem. Right. So I think that transparency is so important. And I love what you said about having access to your account to be able to verify. I think that's huge. So I guess then to wrap up and to close, what I would love to do is, Brian, start with you on the number one piece of advice that you would give customers who are looking to avoid this data paralysis moving forward. And we'll go around and have everyone give their one little piece of advice that they would give.
I would say it's most important to understand how metrics work in conjunction with each other. There are so many different acronyms thrown out at you that it's important to understand their relationship with each other.
Right.
And how ultimately they're going to impact that final business objective, whatever that may be. Alongside that, if you're looking at a large amount of information right at the start, easiest way to start eating away at and understanding what it means is by segmenting it into different areas and paying attention to device-specific behavior or time like day parting information.
Right.
And so by breaking things down in smaller chunks, you're able to get a better and more accurate picture of what that large sum means.
Absolutely. Figuring out which lever to pull in order to optimize for that key business objective. I think that's great. Lauren?
My one piece of advice to give to CMOs or marketing directors is to work with your agency to have a holistic understanding of your KPIs and the performance and what's happening in your account in Google Analytics and in Google AdWords. If you don't understand, then things can be missed. And so asking for clarity from your agency is really important because they'll give recommendations, they'll give insights, and you want to make sure that you understand exactly what's happening and exactly where your money is being spent.
I think that's a great piece of advice. The note, there's no stupid questions. We use a lot of acronyms. We're marketers. We love them. We love throwing out CTR, CPC, doing the RLSA, all of that good stuff. But at the end of the day, not everyone speaks that same sort of jargon. So being able to translate that and for customers to feel comfortable asking questions. I mean, this is your money. So understand how those changes, those tests, everything that we talked about, those metrics and levers that you're pulling relates to that business objective. I think that's a great piece of advice. And Ben, how about you?
Yeah, you know, there's no silver bullet, just a lot of silver BBs. And so with AdWords, there's a lot of different products, there's a lot of different extensions, there's a lot of different things that can be done with it. Not all of those things are best for every business, but there's a lot that can help a lot of businesses. And so that's what we bring to the table, is helping our clients understand which AdWords products, which tactics are going to align best with their company and their company goals.
Absolutely. Great. Well, thank you all so much for joining me today. This has been super helpful and instructive when kind of fighting this data paralysis that so many customers just see day to day and figuring out, okay, what are the first steps that I need to tackle in order to move my business forward. So with that, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.